Hi there, and welcome to episode 11 on the Let's Talk Wellness podcast. The vision of this podcast is to bring individuals awareness of holistic wellness and self-care by weaving together a rich tapestry of experiences from practitioners around the globe, in addition to my own journey. My name is Shalini. I'm a tech professional, I'm a yoga and meditation instructor, a health coach, and a certified Reiki healer. Today, I am super excited to have my guest, Donna. And Donna is a former school teacher who spent 20 years in educational teaching in San Diego, as well as in the greater Seattle area. She recently resigned from teaching to focus full-time on her private healing practice, which she also recently expanded into an alternative healing center called Kindred Healing Space. For as long as she can remember, she has had a calling to be of service to others, first with children as a school teacher, and more recently as a Reiki Master Teacher, intuitive coach and guide, and a Sound Bath Practitioner for the community. Her goal with Kindred Healing Space is to create a healing and supportive community that includes a variety of private offerings with 8 different practitioners, yoga and meditation, as well as workshop and events for individuals and the community's spiritual and healing journey. Welcome, Donna. Thank you for joining us today.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Sure thing. So I would love to just start off, if you can share a bit about your wellness journey and how did you go from classroom as a teacher to now being an entrepreneur and running, this healing center?
Yeah, well, you mentioned everything I currently do and that I was a school teacher. Um, I would say my journey started when I was a child. I've always known since I was a child that I had been in tune, to energy and those things that are unseen. But I think, like many people who have those experiences, especially being a child, and do so, I was fearful. So I blocked it out. And as I got older, although I would still have experiences here and there, but I would always chalk it up to, coincidences or things like that. But it was during the pandemic that my experiences really amped up, and I actually became frightened of what I was experiencing. And so I decided to see an energy healer. And even at the time, I didn't quite know what that meant. I just felt like I just Googled energy healer and I went to my first energy healer who eventually became my mentor and is still a friend of mine today. But after that, I felt, well, it's the first time I had slept through the night in like 3, 4 months. And I just felt really called to energy work after that. So I went through all the Reiki trainings. And I started my healing practice soon after. And I was a 3rd grade teacher at the time. So I would teach during the day. And then I had a small office here in downtown Everett in Washington. And so I would see clients in the evenings and weekends. So I actually did that for about a year and a half, juggling the two, teaching and beginning my private healing practice.
Wow,
And then,
awesome.
yeah,
Do you also
well,
have children?
I do. I have 2, one adult, she'll be 20, and then I have a 16-year-old as well.
Wow. Yeah, I know it's really hard, right? I don't know how you did the juggling of, being a teacher, trying to do this part-time and, being that mom.
Right. Yeah.
So, yes. And so I would, yeah, I mean, you obviously mentioned, that you run a wellness studio, and I know I shared that as well, right, in the introduction. I mean, let me step back, right? So how did this whole even entrepreneurship journey begin? Because like you said, you did this in parallel,
Mhm.
right? But how did you decide that, transitioning full time?
Yeah, so, I just felt a pull and a calling, and like you mentioned in the introduction, I always had a calling to be of service to others, and it started with the children as a teacher. And then I just felt this pull and this tug and towards this other practice and a way of being in service for others. And so I did make, and it was a hard decision, I finally decided to resign from teaching to explore opening up, like, essentially my calendar, right? To not feel limited in terms of how often I was practicing and working with clients. So I did eventually make that decision to resign. And then so I was in my small office, and then eventually I decided to expand because I don't know if it's just being a teacher or if it's just who I am, but I just love community. And I always knew that it was not just going to be about me in my little office doing this. So that's when I decided to, I actually decided to expand soon after I started my private practice to find a home for other practitioners similar to myself, a space where they can practice and feel safe and allow others to, their clients to feel safe. And so, yeah, that's
how the journey began.
Yeah. And that's Kindred Healing Space. Yeah.
And are there any, I mean, just, I'm sure every entrepreneur has their own stories, right? But I'm just curious, were there any roadblocks along the way?
Not many personal roadblocks, knowing that this is what I wanted to do, my husband supporting me. I would say the main roadblock was the expansion of Kindred Healing Space and finding the space to house it. My biggest obstacle was finding the space. And then that came along with the financial aspects and all of that. But I was supported greatly by, the bank I used. But to be honest, I think being a person of color, looking at spaces, it was, I think a lot of people and the property managers, there were times when I didn't feel like I was being taken seriously. And I think that was my biggest challenge was finding people to believe in this and what I wanted to offer as a woman and a person of color.
Got it.
Yeah.
Wow. But, well, you've obviously come a long way, and I see you have some wonderful classes that you offer. And just for the audience to know, I believe your studio is in Everett,
Downtown
Washington?
Everett. Yeah.
Yes, Everett in Washington State. Awesome. All right. I think, with that, I would love to just transition into our topic, which is healing through energy, right? So I mean, I know you are a Reiki master. So just for the audience, can you help them understand what is Reiki and maybe even a step back, right? Like, what is energy healing?
Well, there are many forms of energy healing practices, and Reiki is just one type that originated in Japan. But in simplest terms, energy healing, such as Reiki, is just channeling healing energy to activate healing within the recipient or yourself. If you're working with yourself, it can encompass the mind, the body, and the spirit. Energy work can assist in balancing the flow within the energetic body, reducing stress, activate physical healing, and more along, wellness and healing as well.
It's interesting you said mind, body, and spirit because even the term yoga, right, it comes from the Sanskrit word yuj, which is also the union of the mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah.
So I think there's definitely a lot of similarity with just the energy and the healing aspects, right? So yeah, and I mean, you mentioned your journey or even starting with Reiki, right? It really originated because you went to see a healer, and that's how your journey with Reiki began, right? So, I mean, can you help the audience understand what is the practice of Reiki?
Reiki is for the practitioner, or, Reiki translates to spiritual sacred energy. And so, or some people translate it to life force energy, but essentially what it is channeling healing energy. And it's considered hands-on. So through the channel of our hands as well, to flow this healing energy for either ourselves or for others.
Got
And
it.
it is spiritual in nature as well, so, and intuitive, all of those things.
Right. And how is Reiki then different from some of the other healing modalities?
Well, like I said, it is spiritual in nature and intuitive in nature. So, um, we can have an intention when we do the practice for others or for ourselves. But really, that healing energy is just going to go and do what it needs to do for the receiver or the recipient. It is holistic, natural, as well as non invasive. It does work best as a complement to what you might already be doing for your wellness. So I always tell my clients, it may not be the end all be all, but it should definitely be there if if you're called to it as a support for what you're already doing for yourself.
Got it. And so if somebody who's completely new to Reiki, right, or even this terminology for that matter,
Yeah.
right, how do they begin?
I would say honestly, the a great way to start to understand energy, just in general, is to observe how energy affects you. When you walk into a room, when you're around other people, do you notice a shift in um, your own energy, even your emotions, your physical body? So that's a way of being in tune to energy around us. So that could be a great practice to start. You can also take note when you notice shifts in your own energy, emotions, and thoughts that are not influenced by you, or how your own emotions and thoughts um, do affect your own energy. So that's a great way to begin to understand energy and notice how you are affected and in tuned, and all the little things as well as the big things that could affect your emotional state, physical state, energetic state.
Got it. So typically, I would think for somebody who's interested in Reiki, right? I mean, they
Hmm.
would have to meet with a practitioner, right, to even get the Reiki healing energy, right? Or if they actually want to learn more, then they would have to go through the certification and the initiation, right, or the attunement process, right, with a master practitioner to actually even get started. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I would suggest it depends if, Reiki, specifically Reiki is called to you, or looking into other energy healing practices. But I would definitely suggest experiencing it for yourself from another practitioner, just so you understand, the benefits and how it affects you. But yeah, and then there's lots of teachers out there that can support you, teach you, and Reiki. There's the attunement ceremony. So yeah, I definitely would say start off with actually receiving, and see if you feel called after that to share it with others, or just continue using it for yourself.
Got it. Okay. And I mean, I've also heard about sound healing,
Mhm.
right, as another form of energy healing. So, how do you think sound just impacts our energy and well being?
Well, sound, this hearing sound, but as well as its vibrations and frequencies. In short, it can assist in, if done correctly, calming the nervous system, putting us out of fight or flight, and just like Reiki, activate healing within our mind, body, and spirit. So they are very similar, but the overall benefits are, just putting us in a calmed, relaxed state to allow healing to occur or be activated.
Got it. I mean, I personally have not experienced a sound bath, but
Hmm.
I've heard and I've seen a lot of people talk about it. And I believe in your studio, you do have sound bath class as well, correct?
Yeah, I do weekly sound baths at Kindred Healing, and I've made it so that they are included in our class passes and memberships, and not just a drop-in rate. Yeah, I do those Friday mornings, Friday afternoons. I have other practitioners who add sound to their own classes, like for yin, chakra alignment meditations, healing circles. So we have quite a few offerings of sound here.
Got it. Okay. And even to do sound healing, I mean, do they have to basically have those bowls? I've seen kind of some of those sound bowls, right? Do they need to have those, or how does somebody even get started?
Well, you can actually, you have access to sound within yourself. So, using your voice, even humming can begin activating, that calming of the nervous system, chanting, um, you know, beating on something rhythmically, clapping, stomping, all those things that can generate sound and vibrations that we can do without instruments, is a great place to start. Outside of that, it's whatever you're called to, I would say. Some people love the crystal singing bowls, some prefer, the brass, like the Tibetan bowls. I use a drum, I use a gong, I use a lot of different instruments, but if you're just starting, you can just explore sound within yourself.
Yeah, no, that's a great point because even as part of, I remember pranayama or breath work, right? We just did Om chanting, right?
Yeah,
So it could probably just be as simple as that, right? And just with breath
exactly.
work, I think like you mentioned, right? You just start listening to sound, right? At least you start connecting with sound and just the healing energy, because maybe that
Exactly.
is a starting point.
I would, yes, exactly.
Got it. And what are some misconceptions around Reiki? And I don't know if you've heard any of it and you want to
Mhm.
share.
I think one of the common misconceptions is that you have to be intuitive to work with and understand energy healing, like receive messages and all of this stuff. And you don't. I have a lot of massage therapists who come and take my classes, and I said, while you do your massage, you can just intend for the Reiki to do its work, and you don't need, and that's it. So I think that's one of the misconceptions is that you have to be spiritual or be intuitive. Another one is that not everyone can practice energy healing or you have to be called to it. In all honesty, anyone can access this form of healing for themselves.
Got it. Okay. And do Reiki and sound healing complement each other?
I actually use a variety of sound instruments during each Reiki session. And each instrument I use during a session has an intention. So I rattle to break up energy and begin to move it. I play the bowls to assist in putting my client in that meditative, relaxed state. I use chimes to gently bring them back, into a wakeful state gently. So I actually do think they work hand in hand really well. And that's what I do in every session I have.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And can you share like a few practical ways, right? Just for individuals to start incorporating energy or sound healing in their daily lives?
Yeah, so for energy work, it's all about intention. It could be as simple as that. So, a person can place their hands on their body where they feel they need some extra care and just set an intention to channel healing energy there. Maybe rubbing your hands together to kind of activate, put it over your heart with the intention I'm sending healing energy here. And then, like I mentioned before, for sound healing, you don't need an external instrument. We've got access to it in our voice, in our hands, So I think that's a great way and practical way to begin incorporating that into your daily routines at any time of the day.
Awesome. So, I mean, do you have your daughters or your spouse experiment and try this out?
Um, are you asking for me personally?
Yeah, I'm just
Um,
curious.
Yeah, they've all come to sound baths. My husband loves them. In terms of them practicing, they're just not there yet.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah.
Um, but my husband loves Reiki sessions, so he'll come in for that, and then he'll occasionally ask to attend sound baths. And he's taken my son, and then my daughter came and asked if I could do one for her and her friends. So, yeah, overall, they're open to the work, but in terms of them practicing it on their own, they're not quite there yet.
Oh yeah, of course. They're
Yeah.
still too young. Yeah, I was just curious about just the practice because I mean
Hmm.
you're obviously doing this, right? Day in and day out. I'm sure they see you in the studio and
Yeah.
I was just curious, right? I'm sure they get inspired, right? And definitely learn from you. So I was just curious if they come in and,
Yeah.
kind of attend and sit in some of these sessions.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I think, the other, one of the last few questions here is, any success stories, any experiences of clients that you would like to share from, energy healing sessions?
Um, you know, um, I mean, there's a lot. My most common feedback, if you will, after each session is that my clients feel lighter. They don't, like clearer and lighter. That's usually the most common feedback I get. But, during sessions, I do receive guidance. Um, I never assume that they'll see me again. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here as part of their journey. So I do receive guidance intuitively. And so I like to share that so they have something to take with them. A lot of it are like action steps, if you will. Like, okay, when you leave here, here are some things that might assist in your journey moving forward. Stress relief, alleviating physical pain occasionally happens as well. And for a lot of my clients, we go into the inner child because sometimes during the work, an inner child shows up and wants to be attended to. And so I would say overall, those are the types of successes that have come out of sessions with clients.
That's amazing. So I'm assuming a lot of your clients have also been, just repeat clients or they come back
Hmm.
for multiple sessions.
Yeah, I have regular clients. I have clients that become students and want to become, learn Reiki themselves for either themselves or eventually as practitioners. And I have a lot of clients that I now have work in the space, sharing their own gifts because, I just, that feeling of empowering others and
Yeah.
everything. So, yeah, so I mean, I see a lot of my clients regularly, whether it's in a session or working here, or maybe I see them for something that they're offering. Um, yeah, it's been a blessing.
Awesome.
Hmm.
Hey, that's amazing. And I think definitely I will share, just links to your studio. And I would love for you to just share with the audience where they can reach out or find you on social media.
Yeah, that would be great.
Do you want to share your website or your
Oh,
channel?
yeah. Yeah, so my private practice is Donna Flows Reiki, so www.donnaflowsreiki.com, as well as on Instagram. And then for the studio, so if you want to see our other private practitioners, as well as workshops, events, our regular studio offerings, that's at Kindred Healing Space at www.kindredhealingspace.com, as well as we're on Instagram also.
Awesome. Hey, thank you so much, Donna, for taking this
Yeah.
time today and sharing your journey. This was definitely insightful for me to just, learn a little more as I'm also kind of going through my Reiki
Mhm.
training certification. So it was just awesome to hear from a Reiki master and just learn a little more about, just the intuitive healing and the energy process, right? And I think really the takeaway from here is for anybody who's hearing this for the first time or they're even trying to start somewhere with, energy healing, I think what I heard you say is just start with, meditation, or just as simple as listening to your own inner voice, right? Or just sitting in chanting, or like you said, maybe just, even just sound with drums or your own hands, right? There's just so many ways I think folks can just start really listening to themselves. And like you mentioned, the inner child, right? I mean, just taking the time to pause and listen and really connect with that energy may even be the first step.
Yeah, I would agree. And and whenever you need it, allow someone to hold that space for you as well. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. Yes. Thank you so much, Donna, for
Yeah.
taking the time.
Yo,
Thank
thank you for
you.
having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.